Okay, part 3. Do not think you're gonna know everything. You don't. Go back to the beginning. Refer to the first video in the video section, the introduction, or find the playlist on the home page. Start from the beginning. Need to have the prerequisite knowledge. So, chapter 8. This is likely to be short, so we'll try to merge it with chapter 9. We'll see. We're going to 13, according to the lesson manual. And I have 15 minutes before I have to go switch the laundry over. And so we'll be stopping in 15 minutes regardless of whether we're going into chapter 8 or whether I finish chapter 9 rather than finish chapter 8 and so forth. And so with the flooding, you've got the dead fish, animals can't drink the water, man can't drink the water, and as a result you get dead animals, dead fish, dead humans. Don't drink the water. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Fully appropriate. And so when bodies lie dead, you get flies. And apparently lice. America has, for the most part, controlled the lice problem. I remember as a kid going to school one day and there were stranger dangers, who took me in, I can't remember where, and they would do and they had a special comb and were going through my hair. And I was already used to that. My mom would go through my hair with a comb. But that was for another reason. It wasn't for lice. So yeah, I never got lice. Apparently they've got a shampoo, I guess, since I was a kid. But the Egyptians purposely shaved their heads, as you see in the Egyptian writing, because of the lice problem in Egypt. And it's a result of uncleanness. You've got dead animals from the annual inundation of the Nile. So yeah, you're going to have massive amounts of flies. And so when you have flies, oh yeah, frogs. Hey, dinner time. Yum yum. You can be a big frog too. Oh, that's pig? Okay. Wrong one. And so that's all that is that these are the consequences of this. However, it's 16, isn't it? Yes. Let's go to it. Because John in Revelation chapter 16 pulls an interesting little stunt for us. In chapter 16, because I remember it was 16 because I couldn't find it. I had to type it in, and there it was in 16. And so, oh, look, Armageddon in the Hebrew tongue. The mountain of Megiddo. Har Megiddo, which in Egyptian is Horus, the son of Osiris. And so he sees, during all this time, he says that the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. Sort of like the waters were parted and dry land appears. That's strange. That the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs. And so here you have the inundation of the Nile, waters parting, dry land appears, and dead animals, dead fish, etc. And so flies and the lice, and so frogs, dinner time, Budweiser. Those were frogs, weren't they? Or were they chameleons or something else? I think they were frogs. But regardless. Yeah, but frogs are being used in a different method here than in the Exodus story. And so the three men like frogs, unclean spirits, came out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. See how this relates to the Exodus. Everybody knew. Everybody knows. Awesome song. Justice League. Alright. Back to the beginning. See me. Killed my father. Prepared to die. So yeah, that's a quick, easy breezy cover girl. I'm losing my cougar audience. Girls, what's up? Are you upset that I called you cougars? You should be excited. But I'm getting the younger audience back. Probably just lost them now. What? We're the learning of the Jews? What? I thought we were Christian. I thought Jesus was our Christ, not Moses. What? And so here we have the destruction of the cattle. This is the first wave of destruction. And boils and blames, and sends, yep, fire, hail, yep. Kid of Sesame Street. Alright, so this is a famine. Just like Joseph had the famine, and this is a latter-day famine. And this comes from drought. Guess what we've been having? The worst drought in over 1,000 years. Yep. And so, yeah, not a coincidence, because wicked people purposely caused this. And then they're in denial. No, it doesn't. No, everything's fine. You're not out of water. See, look at all the water pouring out of the empty tap. Yeah, we're already hurting here in Utah, as our governor has already said, you guys are shutting off your secondary water systems. There is no debate on this issue. Nobody behaved last year, and so this year, and it's going to get worse. And so there's going to be more towns here in Utah that run out of their primary water source. It's coming, that's for that part. And so, yeah, this is a drought that causes the death of all the cattle. You know, the horses, the asses, the camels, the oxen, and the sheeple. And so, and apparently the Great and Abominable Church doesn't get harmed. No, it is the Great and Abominable Church versus the True Church, and the True Church, this isn't supposed to happen until they get to Zion. That's the whole point here. author is merging the two conditions together, is that we need the Exodus so that we can escape from the great and abominable church. We go to Zion where we can prosper and thrive as a people, not the church with the Mormons suffering. And that's how it's supposed to be. And it is just not in that position, because the great and abominable church reigns supreme. And Pharaoh continues to stop the bloodshed and the deaths and the carnage and the chaos and the dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, Ghostbusters. You see, kids, in our day, before Afterlife, there was these things called original movies. Afterlife was awesome. I don't know what the critics were complaining about. And the Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron, take you handfuls of ashes. Ash Wednesday. Remember when I was doing those videos for you? Yeah. Of the furnace. Despite the signs in the heavens and the countdown, we only got the war. But nonetheless. And so, that's Ash Wednesday. That's this year, guys. Guess what? This is it. This is the whole point and purpose. This is it. And the church knows. And they purposely distracted you with conference so that you wouldn't have this lesson in time to save your souls. Yeah, it could be. You know, we'll have to wait and see if he does actually fulfill his promises. But, yeah, we'll see. Alright, so then verse 13 is the next part that I can stop here and come back after I change the laundry over. So uploading has 5 more minutes left, and yeah, it does seem like the Mormon employee for YouTube is not working this shift, so we're good to go. Alright, rise up in the morning. This is an important symbolism here with the sunrise. The Egyptian concept of sunrise has to do with the rising of Horus to take back the throne usurped of his father. And so the rising sun is synonymous. Just like the rising of the dry land between the separation of the waters, the sun likewise is that symbol. Everything in Egyptian all ties together, or circumscribed into one's great whole. Nonetheless, that's what you're looking for here, is seeing these Egyptianisms in the text and weeding out the Babylonian sevens. That's the bad luck number, not 13 of the Knights Templar. That's the good luck number. I always had the number 13 as a kid in sports, regardless of what sport it was, basketball, baseball, volleyball, because 13 was the larger size, and being the larger kid, always got 13. And so it was interesting, when I turned 13 years of age, that all of a sudden became my favorite number. It was weird, but yeah, that's where it originated from. My 13th birthday, 13 became my favorite number. And I don't recall that being a special birthday. because from what I remember, my birthdays always sucked. Even though I was the one separated from my 3 younger siblings until Tabitha was born when I was 17 years old. But the other 3 were all born in November on purpose, because my mom wanted to make things easier for her, she thought. And it worked for the first 2 kids, I guess. So she did it for the 3rd. But nonetheless, yeah, I don't know why 13. Just one of those weird things. Maybe it's because I learned it was supposed to be a bad luck number, and so I embraced it. Not realizing that it comes from Mormonism, with the Knights Templar of the Smiths. The Holy Grail. I'm not dead yet. She's a witch. She floats like a duck. Yep. Brave Sir Robin ran away. Alright. Let my Mormons go. I will send all my plagues upon thine heart. Thou mayest know that there is none other like me in all the earth. So I'll stretch out my hand, that I may smite thee and thy people with pestilence. Yeah, didn't we cover this? Again, you have death, and so yes, pestilence. The flies come in, and then, yeah, total chaos from the drought. Alright. By name, Jesus! Be declared. This is the learning of the Jews, Christians. Don't be insulting. Especially Mormons. Dear God. You're betraying your origins. Amen. As yet exaltest thou thyself against my people, and thou wilt not let them go. Yep. You'd rather murder us. There's no reason to keep us anymore. The whistleblower in 2019 already declared that the church makes enough money from interest alone, more than what Mormons put in. They're set for life. They don't need Mormons, so why are they still holding on to Mormons? Why aren't they letting us go to worship how, where, and what we may? Why are they still lying to us? Why are they deceiving us? I mean, they've already paid the blood money to Putin. Why not just let us go? And so here we have stars falling from heaven, as well as volcanic eruptions, nuclear fallout, all cause hailstones, but the thing is that it's mingled with fire. And so the stars falling from heaven are flaming fireballs crashing to earth, and we've seen those. Seen these this year. On the first New Year's, we saw one. Right next to Pittsburgh. Right in that video. Church is trying to cover up church history. And so yes, the latter days, the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. You're going to see eventually here we're going to get to the sun shall be darkened part. But it's different from the tetrads, which the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven, are the talking about tetrad. The 3 days of darkness are the solar eclipses, the tres solar eclipses. And Samson, the Sun King, goes over the description of the star dates of the 3 solar eclipses. He's the Sun King, talking about the 3 solar eclipses of the latter days with the star dates. It just blows my mind. And so, yeah, hail comes down, and fire mingled with hail. And the hail smote, and of course, if you saw the last video that's being uploaded, it should be in the processing time now. Processing 4 minutes. It's at 51%. It's just so nice when I don't have the evil people threatening me and censoring me and being mean and evil. What a wonderful world. What a wonderful world. And I think to myself, yep. Okay. So, the Lord is righteous. Yeah, Zadok, righteousness. High priest. No more mighty thunderings and hail. I will let you go, and you shall stay no longer. Moses said, as soon as I am gone out of the city, I will spread abroad my hands unto the Lord, and the thunder shall cease. We've had some mighty storms when we're not supposed to have storms. Tornado season is May through July. And recall that? Remember the old days when tornado season used to be in tornado season? Yeah, there's a reason why. And I actually saw the latest one that we had on Venture Sky a week before, but nobody cares when I do those warning videos. I used to do warning videos of tornadoes and hurricanes and such from Venture Sky. VentureSky.com, and I was instead getting threats. I mean, seriously, threats. Dear God. And so with nobody caring and me getting threats, but yeah, I saw it coming. I knew it was coming in advance. And yet the news pretended like, oh, we didn't see this coming. What do you mean you didn't see it coming? You do the weather forecasting, don't you? Didn't you see it in the weather forecast? I saw it in the weather forecast on Venture Sky. Why didn't you see it on the weather forecast? Why didn't you warn the people? That's your job. It's your one and only job. What about Bob? He would have done it. Groundhog Day. See, Groundhog Day drove him nuts, and so he became Bob. Changed his name from Phil to Bob. And then Peter. To tell Gozer, I'm a god. Afterlife was awesome. They fixed it this time. But he paused, he hesitated. Everybody was worried that he was going to resurrect the cute little Stay Puft Marshmallows. Oh, that was so awesome. He blended in. They can get away with that on that and not make it an X-rated movie for graphic violence. Because they're not real Stay Puft creatures. Oh, awesome. Alright, so where were we? Oh yeah, Armageddon. Gozer's back, and Gozer's pissed. Oh, God. Alright, and so yeah. This is interesting. The poor wheat, or the poorer grains, flax and barley, were smitten, and the wheat and the rye, which are the more expensive grains, were not smitten, for they were not grown up. And so, yeah, this is harvest time that they're referring to here, the Tabernacles, Feast of Tabernacles, Feast of Harvest, in September. And so the poor are suffering here, because the poor are not able to buy the flax and barley. Only the wheat for the rich. And so, yeah, this shows the burden on the Pharaoh was causing to the people with the excess burden that the poor, the cost of living is too much for the poor to handle in the latter days. So yeah, oh, look at that. That's also happened. As the cost of food has risen, $5 for a gallon of orange juice, when it used to be around $2. And milk, dear God. So yeah, the poor must be suffering. Yes, the church has destroyed me. They've now cut off my source of food. And despite the salesman apparently gone now, the company is not seeking to make restitution for his damages to me, which means they were the ones who ordered it and got their orders from the church. Ta-da! That's what I was testing for. Sure enough, it came through with flying colors. Okay. So 10. Now we're doing well on this one. We had, it was 15 minutes on the first segment, and we're now at 15 minutes, so 30 minutes, so let's go to 10. We'll have to make sure that we combine 8, 9, and 10 at least together. 8, 9, and 10. And in case I forget, Passover this year is after it's after Easter, as well as after conference. It's later in the month of April. Let me find that thing, because the website that I was using to find this information out, I found that I can do a copy and paste onto a Word program, and it perfectly sets it up. It's so beautiful. And so I need to get all of them. But, yeah, we've got to Hebrew calendars. 5782, which should be this year. Gotta get them all. I got the timeanddate.com calendars downloaded in PDF form that they show the dates of the Hebrew stuff. But this gives you the Hebrew calendar right next to our calendar for 2022. Yep. And so 5782, and then we'll transition in September, right? Seriously? Back then? Are you sure? Yeah. Huh. Hold on. Oh, hey, it's done. Excellent. They're still doing checks. Dear God, there's only the three pictures in the beginning. You don't need to check anything. There's nothing to check. I knew when they started doing those checks that they were going to abuse it. They're actually going through my words to find fault with my video. Oh, the guy responded. So let's find out if he's Mormon or if he's not Mormon. He's responding to a different video. And it's an hour ago. You said. Yeah, this guy just wants to argue, it looks like. You said, because he's referring to LDS Church religious freedom to dodge Constitution. Then I did the follow-up video about what you missed by not enduring to the end of the video. And so he's saying, you said in this video that it's not up to the government to decide about marriage. Yeah, it's a religious ritual. It's not theirs. I referred to the Constitution with our Amendment number 1. You said it's a religious thing. Yes. And you said that the government has no rights to make laws about marriage between same-sex. Any marriage. It doesn't matter about same-sex or... It doesn't matter. No marriage. He's getting upset over homosexuality, apparently. So this guy is a bigot. He just keeps going on. You said, so why are you accusing those who practice polygamy and say that the government should punish them? I knew this was going to be an issue. Dear God. Yes, marriage is a violation of people's rights to life, liberty, and property. That's how it's a crime. Dear God. Based on what you said, just go away. All right, let me copy this first. Hello? Bueller? Are you not doing it because I got too much stuff behind the scenes? None of these should be affecting this. What's that blue circle around the 3 dots? What is that? God. I had to do it through the other method. Okay. Now I can ban you. Just go away. It's a... Oh, now... I knew that was coming. I just knew it. And now all of a sudden, all these, there's really nobody watching this morning. Everybody's hiding, treating it like a holiday. Go away, I need to save, oh, that is chapter 7. Okay. So let's sign out. Oh, God. One of those days. Master of Puppets, cover by A. Yeon. They just do not put what I want. And, oh, it's still doing okay. That's great. And this is just going to go on forever. That's great. Just great. Alright, where were we? Passover. It's the 15th through the 22nd of April. Because remember, the eclipse is on the 30th. Just so you know. And so, yeah. And so, eclipse is the new moon for solar eclipse, and eclipse for the, or, no, wait. Yeah, new moon, solar eclipse, full moon, lunar eclipse. And so it's a solar eclipse, thus a new moon, because the full moon is on 14th, 15th. And thus they designated it for that purpose. And they're trying to avoid the Sabbath, to start it on Friday instead. That's Friday night, Sabbath. Passover on the Sabbath. This is Passover week. Alright, so that's all I needed for this. It's just going to keep on going forever. Microsoft sucks. It's like the programmers don't even use it. They probably use Apple. Would not surprise me in, oh God. So all these blank, all delete. We don't need you. Go back to the scriptures, see where we left off with that interruption. I knew it. I knew it. There's going to be a smart ass. Did not understand what I was saying. Life, liberty, property. That's it. That's all. No other laws. And yet he wanted to be a dumbass. And I tried to say, well, maybe he's not going to be a dumbass from his first comment. I'll give him a try, link him to the right video. Well, now he's banned. So if he sees that, he's not going to be able to watch that video unless he's signed out. God. Life, liberty, property. Everybody gets it. Or it's a crime by those who deny it. That simple, not complicated. Cut it out. Women were also considered property before 1971. Alright. How hard is it to figure out that polygamy is... I went over it. It's sex trafficking. That's a crime. You can't do that. And yet... why are people dumbasses? Why? So I never even found out if he was Mormon or not. He seems to think that I'm supporting polygamy. Alright. So, 10. Pharaoh, commenter, is hardening his heart, refusing to understand the simple concept of law, and is trying to twist me into an evil person who wants polygamy. So, dear God. Alright, tell it into the ears of thy son and thy son's sons what I have wrought in Egypt. Yeah, keeping records. Book of Mormon, all about keeping records. It is a record of the history of the people. That's what I've been doing, keeping a history of the people, putting it all together for you, because nobody else is doing it. So the news, they forget what they themselves reported on. And I'm screaming at the screen, you just reported on this! What do you mean that? No! You knew already what that... So frustrating. And I knew in advance of Biden becoming president that all the liberal media were going to flake out. And sure enough, dear God. They were awesome to watch when Asterisk 45 was in office, but then Biden, and all of a sudden they forgot how to do journalism and investigative reporting and covering the news. It's all, they need to do this, they need to do that. It may be, this might be this case. It's not news. CNBC television is the worst. Seeing them on YouTube, it's just the titles alone. That's all you need to read is the titles, and you go, oh dear God. That's not news. Speculation? That's news? What? Alright. Here comes the locusts. I don't understand what the Mormons were complaining about. They had free dinner after eating all their food, traveling across the plains. I don't understand. Why did you pray to have the locusts go away, and then God, the genie in the magic bottle, just tricked you and sent all the seagulls? That's worse than locust. And I noticed that the Mormons didn't pray to have the seagulls go away. I guess they hadn't invented Alka-Seltzer yet. That's just mean and cruel, though, but nonetheless, we need to control the populations. Can't let them run amok. They cause damage. They destroy the environment. But you can definitely tell when a Mormon thinks that's funny. Oh, look at that, it exploded! And there are, even Governor Herbert, yeah, I used to kill small animals, and it wasn't for food. Alright, so yeah, when you get the locust swarms, yeah, it's nighttime. They just cover the whole sky. And Egypt still has this problem to this day, where locusts will come in. Utah, however, has found a pest control to kill off our locust problem, to keep them under control. But yeah, I remember when I first moved here, there was the one year where we had all the cute little locusts, little green locusts. They were so cute. But yeah, all over the place. Dear God. My goodness. You shall fill thy houses and thy houses of servants and blah blah blah. And knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? So even with the destruction of Utah, the great and abominable church president still does not surrender, does not give up. No! I'm the chosen one! Well, you're in competition with Astros 45, who said he's the chosen one. Moses and Aaron were brought again unto Pharaoh, and he said, Go, serve the Lord your God, but who are they that shall go? And Moses said, Our old with our sons and our daughters, with our flocks and our herds, we will go, and we will hold a feast unto the Lord, last supper of the Lord, the latter days supper of the Lamb, the wedding feast at the temple. That's what it's referring to. He said unto them, The Lord be so with you, as I will let you go, and your little ones. Look to it, for evil is before you. And they were driven out of Pharaoh's presence. Oh, he did relent and let Moses go with the Mormons. Isn't that great? But wait. And Moses said, Stretch out thy hand for locusts, that they may come in upon the land. He let you go, and then you curse him with locusts. And then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in haste and said, I have sinned against your Lord and your God, therefore forgive me. I pray thee, the locusts go away. And so Moses and Aaron bring seagulls. Just eat them. Tastes like chicken. And cast them into the Reed Sea. This is an important feature here, because this is the afterlife. This is comparable with the swine that come to Jesus. Well, Legion comes to Jesus and says, Oh no, you're Jesus, we're terrified. Hey, let us possess those swine. And Jesus says, okay. Then the swine goes berserk and runs into the sea and dies. That's what you're seeing here with the locust. That's what the Reed Sea is referring to here, not the Red Sea. I'm willing to bet it is the Reed Sea. Let's verify though, just in case. Exodus 10:19. Go to Blue Letter Bible. Let's make sure it's right. Reed Sea. Okay. And then we change it to Westminster Leningrad Codex. And we scroll on down to 10. There's Ra, the Egyptian god. There's Seer. A seer like Ra. Interesting, if we were to translate this correctly. There's Lord, Yahweh, and Asher, Ashel, Red Sea. Huh. Neged. Neturu. Neged. Heged. Stargate. Daniel Jackson talking with Shi'ari, which they changed the phonetics. I guess Shi'ari was too complicated. Yeah, this is fascinating. The seer like the sun god. That's like weird. I gotta check this again. I'm like freaking out here. Oh, it's the wrong. It's 19. Why didn't you tell me? A seer like the sun god. Didn't tell me. Soph, the Sea of Reeds. Nope. Sea of Reeds. Sea of Reeds. So yeah, I'm correct on this. It's talking about the afterlife. Ten is talking about... What is 10 talking about? And he said unto them, the Lord will be with you, so with you, and I will let you go, and your little ones look to it, for evil is before you. Look to it, for evil is before you. The seer of your sun god is before you. It's talking about his ability to be a seer. So that was incorrectly translated, and I correctly translated it for you. Yay! And so the Lord turned a mighty, strong west wind, which took away the locust and cast them into the Sea of Reeds. Joseph, Yah of Reeds, for a reason. The bones of Joseph are going to go with Moses in the Exodus through the Sea of Reeds. Yah of Reeds. Joseph. Restoring Joseph's church from the great and abominable church. And so the locusts are swine in this particular case from the Jesus story. And the Jesus story got their story from the Egyptians, as this did too, and it's referring to the afterlife with judgment day, the latter days. So, here's how it works. There's the temple rituals. You get initiated in the mysteries of the temple, with the initiatories of washing and anointing, and then you are taken before the scales of judgment, where the 42 commandments, rather than 10, 42 affirmations. I have not done this, I have not done that. Guess which one? 2, actually. Worshipping other gods is not on there, as well as Sabbath. That's a Babylonian creation, remember? 7, evil. The Sabbath is the evil day. And so don't be assimilated into Babylon. And so you have to be able to have a pure heart that does not desire to do evil. And if you pass, you get to go before the veil of the temple and enter into the presence of Osiris, our Heavenly Father, becoming Christ, his son, Horus. See, many Mormons are called to be Horus, but only one gets chosen, because all the rest of you are frozen. Section 121. Everybody should know that. And the other guy is bugging me. I knew that was going to be an issue, and he was the one who purposely chose to be the problem. And so if you fail and your heart isn't pure, well, there's the devourer, hold on a second, let me get the pronunciation correct. Amenet? It's not Ammon, it's not the wife of Ammon. Devourer in Egypt. God. Emmet. No N. He's a hybrid beast. You've got crocodile, lion, hippopotamus, all joined into one creature. And he's the one who devours your soul. And so, yeah, the garments are a shield and a protection to you against the destroyer until you finish your work on the earth. That's Emmet. Whether they knew that or not, it's a different question. But in the 19th dynasty tombs, so there's multiple ones of them. I've got them. I'm speaking from knowledge. I'm not speaking out of my... And D.M. Murdoch also was the one who first figured that one out. But she didn't understand the context in the big picture. She died too early to tell us. And she was sad. So it's up to me now. And they portray Egyptians lined up, marching up the stairs to Pharaoh's throne, where the scales of judgment are, and there are people who are failing their judgment before the 19th dynasty Pharaoh, depending on which tomb you're looking at. And apparently there's some new tombs that are rediscovered in Egypt. The news has been reporting on it this week. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, they show them being returned to the netherworld, the spirit world, on the barks, and they're floating in the air because the afterworld is involved with space and under the earth, and the whole concept is symbolic of the afterlife. And the humans have been turned into swine. They failed. And now they're going back as swine into the waters of the afterlife. That's the Jesus story of Legion. And that's what you're seeing here, is that the locusts are the Mormons. They have failed their judgment of the latter days for following Pharaoh, the false prophet of the great and abominable church, and are going to their deaths, literally to hell, in the Mormon theology, because they did not search for their true Christ. And during these latter days, Mormons are dying. So we go over that with you. I was going to wait until creeping death to bring this up, but there's a disturbing trend this week. Because the virus supposedly is at green low levels. The Utah map, all green, so it's all clear, right? No need to worry. It's all over. Well, look at the hospitalizations And they are, for the most part, low. That's good. But let me go over the number of deaths since the 1st of March. 6. 6. 19. 6. 11. And Saturday and Sunday, because Cox chose not to report for Saturdays and Sundays anymore. And then 8, which is total for the whole weekend plus that day. 24. So that's interesting. 9, 24, 21. And then last week, 6, 5, 3, 3, 5. Oh, we're getting better. This week, 11, 38, 35, 36. What the hell? Deltacron is here in Utah. It's only infecting a minimal amount of people comparatively. Though yesterday's was kind of surprising jump from the pattern. 152, which was more than Wednesday's. Did they purposely hold the numbers back so that Thursday became Sunday's numbers? Cox. Somebody tell you about my videos. To protect the church as the super spreader. Well, you can't cover up the deaths. Deltacron is more deadlier. And we've just barely started with it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not hearing it from the news yet. But the coronavirus stats from the coronavirus website, I've been keeping track. I keep showing you the paperwork all this time. And YouTube thinks they're the moral authority on this to cancel people's channels when they report the facts and tell people to follow the medical professionals. YouTube doesn't want you to. YouTube wants to harm you. And yet, this is the reality. As the previous one was going down with 6, 5, 3, 3, 5, then all of a sudden 11, 38, 35, 36. This is the secret disturbing trend that I'm not seeing any of the news cover yet. Our total that's been reported it's at least 3 times higher. The news has reported that our governors purposely all did not listen to the medical professionals and put our lives in danger. And I've done the videos where I told you why Governor Herbert screwed things up for Utah. Because a man like Moses filed a petition against the church. And the church was mad and took it out on you guys. Herbert was all set, ready to be the example to the world of how Utah is the light on the hill for everybody to follow. And then the church came and said, no, you will not. And here we are. And will not let us go. And so, yeah. After Moses gets rid of the locusts, after Mormons have died spiritually, this is a spiritual death. The physical death is coming. Moses then changed his mind and said, I will not let you go, will not let you go. Queen. And so, as a result, darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close to hand. I screwed that one up, didn't I? Cause this is Thriller Night. Now, 3 days of darkness. And so I think this is a good time to expand or go to Samson. But we'll first cover Jesus, because his is only 3 hours. I guess they didn't want to do 3 days. But the Book of Mormon, yeah, 3 days. Yep, everybody but the gospel narratives say 3 days. Gospel narratives, 3 hours of darkness. It has to be 3 days because these are solar eclipses. And they happen in different years. And so, yeah. Stretch, trying to come alive. So, it'd be better to just type in Samson. So we go to the first day of darkness. And remember, signs in the heavens in the likeness of things on the earth. And as Wilford Woodruff helps us with, God gives us a sign in the heavens of a lunar eclipse, which the sun is for solar eclipses. And in the Egyptian religion, the 2 eyes of Horus are the word for Peter, which is seer. The seer. And so the right eye is for government and is the sun. Left eye is for religion and is the moon. So lunar eclipses, yeah, disapproval of God for religion. Prophets of religion. See how this works? And solar eclipses, kings, governments. And anciently, it was a theocracy, both together as one, like Reese's peanut butter cups. And we don't have that today, do we? We have 2 separated systems, the religious system and the government system. And so this is dealing with signs in the heavens for solar eclipses, because he's the sun king. But the reason for solar eclipses is because they designate the first and last years of the latter days. Whereas the tetrad and other lunar eclipses refer to other things. And are not coordinated with the first and last years. So the tetrad in 2014, 2015, yeah, that was the pre-show for Mormons to let them know, hey, Latter Days is coming. Are you ready? Oh, you aren't being told by the prophets who are supposed to follow Amos 3:7. Oops. Yeah, Monson came out with a statement saying this is not the sign of the latter days. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Move along. Then we get Chad and Lori Daybell going bonkers because of their rejection and humiliation by the prophet. And so, yeah, we're now in the second of the tetrad, the one for the latter days, within the latter days. And there have been others, like Thomas S. Monson's death. And that was in 2018, as it had already begun. The first year of the reign of King Zedekiah, king of Judah, where the sign in the heavens of the Revelation 12, verses 1, 2, and 5. King Joseph Smith translation moves 5 to verse 3 to be part of that sign. And sure enough, I've done all those videos to tell you that yes, it's right. 23rd September 2017. Nephi is born. And all Mormons missed that. I caught it as a kid. Hey, oh, Nephi wasn't born. So why then does the cartoon have Nephi as a young man, and he's buff? Why does the Arnold Freeberg picture paintings show Nephi as well, buff? And the Book of Mormon videos by the church, Nephi is there with his brothers in Jerusalem before they leave the first time. No. Nephi is born in the first year. And there's a reason why. It's because it's apocalyptic literature. It's not a literal history. And so, Samson. Okay. In verse 5. He's already seen the woman he wants. And he tells his parents, get her for me. She's mine. I want her. But she's uncircumcised Philistines of the great and abominable church. And nonetheless, the parents obey. Get Samson his woman. And so it's time for the marriage feast. And Samson goes down, and his father and mother, to Timnath, and come to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. The Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would rent a kid. And he had nothing in his hand, and he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down, talked with the woman, and she pleased him well. And so, okay, this is the engagement. He kills the lion for the engagement, and then goes back for the wedding feast. After a time, he returned to take her as his wife in the great and abominable church, Philistine temple, room number 13, with the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of that temple, where next to it is the wedding feast chambers of the lion house, because there's a swarm of bees next to it as well. Lion house, beehive house, temple of the great and abominable church. See where we're going with this? That's the things on earth that you're supposed to be paying attention to. But the sign in heaven is the death of the lion by the Sun King. So you're looking for a solar eclipse for the latter days in Leo, the lion constellation, at the star Regis. Guess what happened on the 21st of August 2017? Monson's birthday. The Egyptian New Year. Dear God, how did they know? Wow. Yep, that's where it was. And there it is, recorded in Scripture prophecy for the latter days. And I've done this video way back in July 2017, and it's the popular video, but I guess all 39,000 of them died by following the great and abominable church president. Because where are they now? I don't even think the 2 or 3 that have been with me from a longer period of time, were back with me back then. I'm not sure. Maybe they can inform me with a comment. Let me know how far back they go. But that's the first one. And so then the next one is in chapter 15. This is an incident with his wife, his Philistine wife of the great and abominable church, great and abominable temple, had his wedding feast of the last day's supper of the Lamb at the lion house next to the beehive house. And so yeah, there it is, verse 6. So let's see. Well, let's just read it. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest. Remember we covered wheat from the Exodus? The wheat survived, the barley didn't. And this Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Sukkot, the Feast of Harvest, that Samson, the Sun King, visited his wife with a kid. And he said, I will go to my wife into the chamber and conceive a child. That's what that means. So the Sun King goes into the wife's chamber, produces the birthright blessing son who's to restore the throne. It's from the Egyptians, Amun. Amun comes down into the queen's chambers of Pharaoh, who is Amun on earth, and gives birth to son Amun, who's to replace his father, who is actually the father on earth, but he's called Amun in heaven when he dies. And but her father would not suffer him to go in. You will not see my daughter. I have taken her away to Canada. And her father said, I verily thought that thou hadst utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to another husband. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? She went to Taiwan on her mission. Take her. Yeah, they didn't offer her. Samson is upset. Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure? Samson gets 300 foxes, took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between the two tails, and then set the brands on fire, and he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, because that's where she lives, and he burnt up the shocks and also the standing corn with the vineyards and the olives. And so this is what we saw with the cattle being destroyed from the famine, from the drought, and the fires, the forest fires that rage in the west that are going to happen this year, unless there's nothing left to burn from last year. Dear God. And so the Philistines are upset. Who did this? Samson. Samson did it. Because he didn't get to have sex. And so the Philistines got revenge on Samson by burning his wife and her father with fire. Second death, second day of darkness. Sun King. And it just happens to be an annular eclipse. Which is called the burning ring of fire. 14th. It's 14th, right? Let's see if I've got that picture in the place with the other pictures before we search for it online. Yep, 14 October 2023. Guess where? Guess which constellation? Where the wife dies by the burning of fire. Annular eclipse. On the 14th of October 2023 in Virgo. Right near Spica, the house of bread, where she's holding wheat. Yes, that's Bethlehem. So that's the burning of the wife of Samson. That's the date. That's the star date. That's why they told the story as they told it. And then the last third day of darkness. Yeah. As we'll read from Bruce R. McConkie in chapter 16's heading, Samson carries away doors of gate of Gaza. He loves Delilah, Lilith, with the Greek prefix determinative. Dacia is Esau in the feminine form from the Greek. The D, the delta in Greek, is a prefix determinative for women. Can anybody guess why? The double D's of David give you a clue? And so Lillah is the first wife of Adam in Genesis chapter 1. She is the night. The alphabet Ben Sira talks about Lilith as the first wife of Adam, and talks about how she wanted to be on top as the sky of night. He is Adam of the soil of earth. This is from the Egyptian Heliopolis creation glyph. I've already gone over this with you from the Genesis lesson. And then Adam says, no, I have to be on top. And so she leaves, goes eastward in Eden, and becomes a spirit ever since. And so Elijah meets her along the way and says, where are you off to? I'm going to kill the last days Mormon Messiah as a baby. He's just been born. And so the god Yah makes a deal with her. Well, if you don't kill him, we'll make sure that an amulet is put in Jewish households, and if you see the amulet as you leak through the window to cause SIDS syndrome on the babies, you won't do it. You'll let that baby live. She said, okay. All from Jewish literature. And so last days Elijah, yeah, that's why they set a table out for Passover. It was all because of all the scriptures trying to explain them, etc. So we need to get to my laundry here. Am I going to be able to cover this, or will I have to stop and remember that I got to put the other segment in before this and then finish up? Because yeah, we still got to cover. Yeah. Because Bruce R. McConkie calls it a building. He destroys building, killing himself and 3,000 others. Bruce. The 30 pieces of silver, interesting, is betrayed. by Delilah. 3,000, 30 pieces of silver, 20 pieces of silver for Joseph. Very interesting number symbolisms that they're using here. So I'm going to get my laundry and then come back to finish with 16 for the third day of darkness, which I've already set up for you. Okay, so the Philistines are being used to talk about the sea people that came from Greece into northern Israel and down into Gaza even, as they just did a rampage at one point in time. Came all the way to the borders of it was all Egypt. They came in and did a slaughtering, conquering, all the way to the Red Sea line, where they finally were held back and thus became what's known as the Philistines. And these sea people had different tribal names, and those sort of partially, kinda, maybe, possibly match names of the 12 sons of Israel, except for certain names, mostly in the southern area. Jews, for example, Judah not being one of them. But Dan and others are maybe, possibly, kinda, sorta identified with the sea people. And the Greeks seem to have on their writing Pharaoh in his chariot getting swallowed up by a massive tsunami. And so everybody says, oh, that's the Exodus. Never happened, guys. That's the afterlife. That's also the inundation. That's creation. And the Horus to restore the throne. So chill. Don't merge archaeology with the Bible and claim it's literal history and demand that science change. And so what Bruce R. McConkie is purposely leaving out here by saying the building is destroyed, it's the great and abominable church. It's the fall. We're waiting for the fall of the great and abominable church. And it comes with an exodus. We're waiting for it. And I'm about to be destroyed, and it's not here. And they keep hesitating and delaying, and God doesn't fulfill his thigh oath with Ash Wednesday. It's just signs everywhere are signs, and no fulfillment on earth. So here I am doing these video series for you. And so Samson dies. But there's some key things in here, not just about Delilah. Because Delilah is the second wife. And she's actually, the Bible needs to be corrected here, she's supposed to be the name of the first wife who dies by fire. The second wife is supposed to be given a different name. But, yeah, we'll fix the Bible later. Because she's the one who betrays Samson by cutting his hair. And is the actual one who was sealed to Samson in the great and abominable church, temple, with the Lion House feast of the last day's supper of the Lamb, because that's where this part is. This is the latter days, the wedding feast of the Lamb supper thing. and because of the date that is given in this chapter. And the Book of Mormon refers to it as the death sign. Samuel, the name of God, the Lamanite, talks about a birth sign, which is 3 Nephi 1. We still, oh my God, we're supposed to have the new sign. Where is it? I did the video where the astronomers screwed up the math, but oh my God. And can I now trust that we're going to have Beltagees blow in the middle of May? To have a day and a night and a day without a night. Astronomers have already told us this. It's coming sometime in the middle of May. They've screwed up on the new star. We're supposed to have the new star. Where is it? It's at the end of Cygnus, right there at the mouth of the dragon, waiting to devour him as soon as he is born. Revelation chapter 12. It's right there. Prophesied even. And it still hasn't happened. And it's now the 25th. But yeah, 3 Nephi chapter 1. But 3 Nephi chapter 8 or 11. Because there's 3 days of darkness for 3 chapters. 8, 9, 10. And destructions and chaos. Dogs and cats living together. So even in the Salt Lake Valley, the Soreg Valley, her name was Delilah. Not quite. Her name is actually Pure, which is similar to corn, see, he mixed it up. He burns the corn with the foxtail brands, and yet corn is supposed to be here. Oh, my little children of the corn, my little corn child. It's the home improvement guy with, what's her name? They were busted for tax fraud violations because their tax accountant screwed them over and fled the country. And so then they escaped, fled for their lives from the IRS, who were packing heat, and they end up in an Amish community and pretend to be Amish to escape the law, the tax law. Tim the Toolman Taylor. Can't remember the name of the show. Not going to look it up. But that's where she's the one who condescends and calls the one child of the corn, referring to the movie series of Children of the Corn, which is a horror series. Children are evil. Anyway. So yeah, they screwed this up. This needs to be retranslated correctly. And so, yeah. And here's the betrayal, the payment, 1,100 pieces of silver. So instead of 20 pieces of silver, instead of 30 pieces of silver, Delilah is betrayed with 1,100 pieces of silver. And so here you see the betrayal. And yes, she did betray. And yes, she did cut the hair. And yes, she was sealed in the great and abominable church to Samson. And yes, their wedding feast was there at the Lion House, next to the Beehive House. Great honey. And, yeah, sad times. Sad times. And keep checking for her obituary, too, because I know her family is not going to notify me. And so, yeah. So we get down to the sign. Because they take him, they lock him up for 6 years of his life in the Philistine Nazi concentration camp. And just like Abinadi was locked up by King Noah, interrogated by the priests, the psychologist priests, torturing him. There's Dagon, the fish god. So Pisces is the sign we're looking for, the constellation sign. Yep, I remember doing those videos, talking about certain Mars being in Dagon. And so, our God hath delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hand. Destroyer of our country, he's to blame. Yeah, he's just a translator, leave him alone. He's trying to restore the church of Joseph Smith. And they made sport of him. And then you see the Jesus thing, and you see Joseph and Abinadi. Yeah, there's a reason. And then they take him out of the prison house. And they mock him, set him between the pillars. What pillars, Bruce? Not a building. What pillars do Greeks have using the architecture of pillars? What buildings do the Greeks use with pillars, Bruce? Yes, this is the great and abominable church's temple. The destruction of the Mormon great and abominable church. And it begins at the temple. I will begin at my house, those who confess to know my name and are wicked. Section 1:16, likewise. Mormons who violate the temple covenants will be destroyed in Babylon, which is the great and abominable church. It is not America, it is not the world. And so yeah. And so Samson tells a lad, he wants to feel the pillars, and so he's out like this, like a cross. The cross also is a sign in the heavens. Jesus had two fishes for Pisces and 5 loaves. Different birthdays. Refer to the video about the birthday of the Mormon man like Moses. And men and women, full packed house. And they were all mocking and laughing at him, putting thumbs down, putting hate comments on his videos. And they plucked out his eyes in prison. There it is. 21. The Philistines took him, put out his eyes. He's the Sun King. The 2 eyes of Horus, blinded for eclipses. Sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. But this is different. These are not the tetrads. This is for the 3 days of darkness, but he throws in some lunar eclipses. Monson already occurred. Guess who's next? The false prophet of Deuteronomy 18. The one who keeps saying, no, you cannot let your Mormons go. And so he's blinded. He wants to be avenged of the Philistines for his 2 eyes, which is for seership, for seer. Because he's not the seer. He's going to usurp it with the destruction of the great and abominable church to restore Joseph Smith, who was murdered under a lunar eclipse. And so God has chosen lunar eclipse to be the sign in the heavens of the destruction of the great and abominable church presidents. I went over that with you in the previous video. And he prays and brings down the house. The roof is on fire. Yep. Samson dies, taking the Philistines and the great and abominable church with him. 8 April 2024. Yeah. Do we need to cover that again? Because that's Abraham sacrificing Isaac. I did cover it in that Sunday school lesson. How the Book of Mormon covers it? Yep. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. It ties in with the Russians. They knew the Russians would be involved, just like the Catholic Church knew the Russians would be involved, and tell the story of the 3 sisters, Lucia, the sisters of Fatima. There we go. So yes, it was over Russia on 8 April 4 AD, and over America, crossing in southern Illinois, where the Knights Templar purchased the land and buried their Egyptian gold plates. And Joseph Smith talked about it. John Taylor said, twisting it for his advantage. We're going to seek revenge on America and take back America, conquer them by betraying the Mormons with their tithing money to cause World War III. But no. Also, the native Indians in that location were the Sun Indians of the Sun God in the Sun City, making sacrifices of human sacrifices to the Sun God at the point of crossroads between the first and third day of darkness. The first day of darkness crossed over Independence and Adam on Diamond. The second one crosses over the Farm and Kirtland Temple. They know. And so, yes. But there's something strange occurring with this sign, because Revelation 19 says it's on a flying horse. The sun, with an angel standing in the middle, that's a solar eclipse, is on the white horse, Pegasus. Pegasus is there in Pisces, as the sun is on the back of the white horse on 8 April 2024. It's 2 more years. The wedding supper feast of the Lamb at the temple, the Zion temple, not the great and abominable church temple. This is the sign of completion of the latter days. It all must be completed. And it is Monday. Church is already plotting for conference weekend to rededicate the Salt Lake Temple, even though Nelson came out not too many months ago saying it's been postponed. Latter days getting pushed back. They're asking for more money. Yeah. Well, Venus is there at the tail of the dragon, Cetus, the water dragon. Mars and Saturn are being cleansed of their iniquities in Aquarius, the high priest symbol. And there's Jupiter. And we just had this, we have this sign coming up. Yeah, conference, the 3rd, Saturday or Sunday. That's right. That's why we need to do. This is why we needed to do this video now rather than waiting until after conference. Jupiter is there in Aries, the ram or lamb, depending on which story you're referring to, whether it's Abraham sacrificing Isaac or the latter-day sacrifice of the lamb, Samson, Sun King. That's Jupiter. He is Zeus. He is Yah, who is Zeus. He is the Hebrew God. He is the man like Moses. I've been telling you this whole time. And that's who it was. September 23rd, 2017, from Revelation chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 5, moved to 3. Which is in the Book of Mormon that way. That is him. And yes, the church had Women Relief Society join with conference that Saturday for the first time ever as the brand new Relief Society president 5 years ago was the primary president giving her first conference. And now this conference, she's supposed to go bye-bye. Somebody new is supposed to replace her. And it's not the 180th anniversary, and it's not the 192nd General Conference, and it's not the 17th President of the Church. It's the 11th. And it's not, and it's not, and it's not. Yep, that's right. The moon will reach Aries for conference. And it precedes within the month time of the solar eclipse on the 30th. And then that's right. I need to go back to saved pictures and then lunar. Scroll down to the tetrad. 16th of May 2022 is when the first or the third lunar eclipse occurs, and that's right around the time Betelgeuse blows. And it's in Osiris constellation of Orion, and it's the armpit, but it's the government shall be upon his shoulder. You know, in Egyptian, it's Osiris who was murdered, who his son restores the throne. I know I can't make it till then. I would be very shocked that I made it till then. I will be extremely suffering with the torture that I've been exposed to by the middle of May. It'll be about the time where I'm supposed to be downgraded on my internet again. If you remember those videos talking about the updates on my condition. Dear God, please don't make us wait that long. day of darkness number 3. The fall of the great and abominable church. But it's supposed to happen before the last days, the latter day sign in the heavens for the 3rd day of darkness. Because you can't just have it happen, the fall happen on that Monday after that conference, because you're supposed to enter into Zion, and that's the judgment, and everything's happy-go-lucky time after that. Except the world will still be at war. Try and kill each other off, despite... I have no idea when nukes are going off. They should be going off any time now. Church paid for them. And it'll be mutually assured destruction. That's the whole point and purpose. Church paid to reign over the whole earth. You can't do that unless the governments are either willing to hand over the government to you or are destroyed. And so yes, the Great War makes it very clear the whole world governments will be destroyed in this war. Well, how can that happen? Because the presidents of the various nations don't go to the war and fight. They stay in their homeland. And so yeah, mutually assured destruction, nuclear holocaust, all over the world. And then the church owns property all over the world, because the Book of Mormon says they're everywhere, they have dominion over the whole face of the earth. But the real Church of the Lamb are small in numbers, even though they too are scattered around the earth and need to be rescued and brought to the real Zion for the latter days. And that we have to have it soon, because we got to build Zion. I don't see how we can build it quickly, especially according to the blueprints and descriptions that are already given for it. It's supposed to be a stone pyramid. We need the fall of the great and abominable church. And they're planning a Purim, an extermination event for the Mormons. And I've done the videos trying to warn Mormons about it. Even took it out and made it a separate video to warn the Mormons about it. The fall has to occur if we're going to survive as a human race. Alright, I think we're done. Do I need to cover anything more? Let's go back to Deuteronomy. Or Exodus. Alrighty. And so, yeah, 3 days of darkness, which, yes, is in the Book of Mormon, 3 days of darkness, and then at the end of the 3 days of darkness, oh, Jesus, after 3 hours of darkness, comes from outer space, not on a flying horse this time, to the temple in Bountiful, the promised land, and says, hey, I'm Jesus, here you go, Nephi, you're now the king of kings, Lord of lords. Have fun. For a whole millennial reign of less than 200 years of peace. They couldn't even make it for a millennium, let alone 200 years before wickedness began again. Did not learn the lessons. I should also point out, from Levi to Moses, 5 generations, I don't think I covered that. So that's a third great-grandfather situation. Third great-grandson. Yep. Guess what? The Mormon pioneers are the third great-grandfathers. Grandparents. Yep. Unless you're of the generation below me. But you're not looking for that generation. It's my generation that you're looking for. Alright. And so Moses doesn't die, but he doesn't make it to the promised land either. But the actual story is he does make it to the promised land, but doesn't finish the building of the Temple of Zion. It sort of got built, but it kind of got abandoned and it's fallen into ruin. It's the Amarna Temple. Akhet Aten, the horizon of the Aten, which is the sun disk, which was the Aaronic priesthood, because the Egyptians were too wicked to have the Amen priesthood, and so he took away the Amen priesthood, replaced it with the Aten priesthood, and then built the new capital in Akhet Aten from Karnak. So yes, exact same pattern, people. Exact same pattern. Yes, took Moses out of their midst as well. So, Mormons, quit being wicked. Stop following the wicked King Noah. You're gonna get burned. Literally, the church paid for your betrayal. Paid Putin, and it's gonna nuke us. It's coming. So, dear God. The fall, Zion for the fall, my Zion for the fall.